Welcome to this Project Kenai tutorial on managing a project. In this tutorial we're going to create a project, then we'll add some features like a version control system, and we'll do things like defining how users can access a feature, which is called setting role permissions. We'll also take a look at other project management functions like managing members and project analytics, and we'll show you a little about the help system. To get started, to create a project, you go to your My page. On that page, there's a Create Project button. I'll click that button to create a new project. Here on the Create Project page, the first thing we need to do is enter a project name that becomes part of the URL used to access the project. The project name is going to be PHP Collaborate Tool, and we'll click away from this field to see whether it was accepted. The name is available, and the project title will be Cool PHP Collaboration Tool Project. For the description, right now we'll just copy the project title and paste it into the description field. And then for tags, so people will be able to find the project, we'll enter PHP, Developer, Collaboration, Collaboration Tool, and Tools. And then for the license, we'll pick Apache License 2.0. You need to pick one that makes sense to you. If you're wondering which license to pick, you can click the license name, and you'll be taken to a page describing the license. If you don't see the license you want, you can click Show All OSI Approved Licenses to see more. If you don't see a license you want here, you can click Other and enter your own license later, as described on this help page. We'll go back to creating the project. We've filled in all the information we want, and we've clicked Terms of Use, and we've accepted the Terms of Use statement. So now we'll click I accept Create My Project to create the new project. When your project is created, you see a message saying that it was successfully created. You see the name of the project, and you see some information about what's in your project. An instant messaging chat room is what you get by default, and then you can add things like forums, source code repositories, mailing lists, issue trackers, a wiki, a chat room, and a download area. To do that, click Manage this project. And then on the Manage page, you'll see that the Features tab is highlighted. That will allow you to add and delete features. Before we do that, here's how you usually get to this page. You can go to your My page, and in the project listing there, you can click Manage. When the Manage page opens, you see the Settings tab open by default, so to add features you need to go to the Features tab. Let's take a look at what features we have right now. Well, there's a chat room, and none of the other features have been added. I'd like to add source control, so we'll go down to Source Code Repository and click Add. The type of source control system we'd like to add is Subversion. You can also choose Mercurial or Git, or you can point to an external repository. So we'll choose Subversion for now, and we'll call it SVN Code Repository. The other thing you can pick is what kind of commit messages are sent out every time someone commits a change to the project. It's automatically set to verbose. You can reduce the number of messages by selecting Compact, or you can set it to none. We'll leave it set on verbose. Now we'll add this repository, and the new source code repository listing appears under the source code repository heading. Another thing we'd like to have is issue tracking, so we'll go up here to issue tracking and click Add. You get a choice of a Bugzilla, a Jira, or an external tracker if you already have one. We'll choose Jira, and we'll change the display name to Jira Issue Tracker, and we'll click Add to add it. So now we have an issue tracker, and we have a source code repository. One thing I'd like to do here is limit what people can do in the source code repository. So I'll click More, Set Role Permissions, and on the Role Permissions page, you see all the roles that people can take in the project: Administrator, Software Developer, Tester, Content Developer, Observer, Unregistered, and Unauthenticated. When you look at the check marks, you see that anyone can perform checkouts for the project. What I want to do is limit checkouts to people who are members of the project. An unauthenticated person is someone who is registered at Kenai but is not a member of this project, so I'll unclick that. And an unregistered person is someone who is not logged into Kenai, so I'll unclick that. And now the only people who can check out code would be people in the role of Observer, Content Developer, Tester, Software Developer, or Administrator. I'm happy with the Perform Check-in settings because they're limited to administrators, software developers, and testers. Later on, we'll look at roles for members, and we'll set up some roles for the members of our project. Now back on the Features tab, if you look under Mailing List, you can see we have two new ones. There's a Commits mailing list, which is the mailing list that receives commit information when someone makes a commit into the source code repository, and there's now an Issues mailing list, which is attached to the issue tracker. I'd like to add a Users mailing list, so I'm going to click Add. I'll add users to this display name, and then I'll click over here in the name field, which is part of the URL, and it automatically gets populated with that name. Now I'll click Add to add the new mailing list, and the new mailing list appears right here. So you've seen how to add a feature, and you've learned a little bit about controlling permissions. If you want to get some help on this page, you can click the Help button, which takes you to Help on the Features tab. This is part of a larger page that talks all about managing a project. For example, when you were on the Permissions page, you might have wanted to see what role permissions were. So here under the Members tab, all those roles are defined for you. So how would you define a role for a member? Well, back on the Manage page, we'll click the Members tab, and we can see that there's one member so far, an administrator. We're going to add a member. I happen to know one who would want to join, so I'll enter that person's username. That user does exist, and I'd like them to be able to check code in and check code out, so I'm going to make them a software developer, and then I add that member. Now at any time, if this member changes roles in the project, you can edit the member, and you can select a different role, such as content developer, which would not allow them to check code out, but would allow them access to the wiki. I'll update that. And pfuzzy's role has now been changed to Content Developer. So far we've covered how to work on features, how to add and edit them, how to add members, and how to edit a member's role. On the Links tab, you can add HTTP links, for example, to information that's important to users that's available on other web pages. We'll add a link to the main PHP page. We'll call it PHP Home Page, and we'll enter the link URL. Then click Add to add it. Now if we go to the project home page, you can see that this link has been added in the left nav bar under Project Links. Now we'll go back to managing the project. On the Image tab, you can upload an image to represent your project, and the Settings tab allows you to change your original project settings, including the license, if you decide that the one you picked is not appropriate for your project. And you can also select more than one license. Now, back on the Features tab, we added a source code repository, so let's click it and go take a look at it. This page shows you that you have created a Subversion source code repository. It's on the server, but there's no information in it yet. To access the repository, you have an HTTPS URI, and if you want to access it via SSH, you have an SSH URI. So there's information on how to add code to the repository, and if you want to get some help on using Subversion, you can click the Help link at the top of the page, and that opens a help page on source code management. The kind of repository we added was Subversion, so we'll go down here to the TOC and click About Subversion, and you see information on accessing a Subversion repository. You can access it on Unix and Mac systems. You can use it on a Windows system. We'll take a look at that one. And this information here gives you basic startup steps for getting your source code repository going on Windows. Now, when you click the Help link at the top of the page, Help is opened in a separate tab for you in this browser, as you can see here. If you go to this tab, you go back to where you were when you clicked Help. I'd like to get back to the Manage page. Now to do that, I'm going to go to the breadcrumbs. I'm going to go back to the project name and click that. And that brings up the project home page. On that page, I can click Manage this project, and I'm back on the Manage page. On the Manage page, there are three tabs we haven't looked at: Emails, Webhooks, and Analytics. The Emails tab lets you customize the email that's sent when you add someone to the project. Webhooks are an advanced feature that lets you set up a callback URL in Project Kenai that goes to a web page you've set up to receive data from Project Kenai on events like commits to your source code repository. The Analytics tab enables you to hook your page to a Google Analytics page. You can get information about each of these tabs if you click the Help link at the top of the page with the tab open. For Google Analytics, clicking Help shows a help page for that tab. Now this help page also has help on webhooks, which would come up if the webhooks tab was open and you clicked Help, and on emails, which would come up if you had the Emails tab open and you clicked Help. Now I'm going to close this help page and go back to the Manage page, and then I'll click Home to go to the Kenai home page. Well, that pretty much covers what we wanted to talk about in this tutorial. We hope you enjoyed this screencast and have fun managing your projects in Project Kenai.